Hello, everyone looks like ghosts for some reason. Is that
Who's talking?
me?
Hello.
Hi, welcome. hmm
Hmm.
Harry, you were the one I was talking to on LinkedIn for a little while about some question that you had. Is that right? Is that how I know you?
Um,
In the
well,
from
from
ISA?
Anna's group.
Yes,
Is it,
in
is that,
Anna's group. Did you and I correspond on LinkedIn too about some
yeah.
questions that you had? Yeah, okay. So I know who you are. Well, your avatar doesn't look exactly like your photo, so I wasn't sure
Well, I
which
couldn't
Terry I was
figure out
talking
how to
to.
get, like, there was no curly heads and I couldn't really figure out how to get anything but the default.
Oh, did you use Ready Player Me or was it a spatial?
No, I tried that and it was too spooky having my face. So then I just decided to
Yeah,
stick with the default for a little while.
yeah. I
Yeah,
think you can
that's fine.
customize the default. We know what John looks like. He's got his actual avatar over his
Yes,
head. Hi,
I
John.
do. Hello. Can everybody hear me?
Yes.
We can hear
Oh,
you and we
good.
can see you.
Good.
Okay.
Perfect. Yes. Well, I just very very recently got a new computer. I just got a Mac Studio, so I'm on here on
Oh,
the Mac Studio, and boy, it's it's incredible.
that's awesome.
Oh yeah, yeah. So it's but no, it's great. It's great to be here.
Yay.
So where is everybody located?
Well, I'm in California.
Yeah.
I think
And
our
I'm in
avatars
Kansas
are
City,
gone.
home of the Chiefs.
Okay. Nice. Yeah, I'm in California. I'm in San Diego.
Oh, okay. You're just a little south of me. I'm in Irvine.
Oh, nice.
Hi, Jay.
Hey
There.
Jay.
Jay, are you the one that takes all those great notes
Uh, for what?
for this? Is
Oh,
that
sometimes I
you?
do. Yeah, like
How
for
do
that
you take
holiday party.
notes and participate?
I just well, the last time I took notes was for that holiday party, right? Like I took
Yep.
I don't know. I'm just like kind of curious about like what people like and all that good stuff with I guess in particular the VR game experiences. So I was like really interested to share that with. I guess that was my whole thing is I wanted to kind of share it with other people because I think that's kind of one of the starting points for people with like VR experiences. Particular like that's where I started at least, and like my work is involved in 3D simulations. It's more traditional 3D though. It's like the flat screen 3D stuff. But I still have a passion for VR though, and I've been testing some VR stuff at my work. But I guess well to get to the point though, I just like my first experience with VR though was well VR gaming at least was a game called Abduction. I don't know. I'm just like passionate about that kind of stuff and like what other people have driven them to like be involved in VR and so forth, or just XR in general. So um, can you
Yeah,
hear my
well, no,
audio? Okay, by the way.
Jay, I really got involved in VR myself about a year ago when I got my first Oculus Quest 2, and I really hadn't been into gaming that much before, but I really got involved in just a wide variety of different games, from this great ping pong game to boxing game and Dual Strike, and just so many different things. So I had no idea, and I've started, I'm currently learning Unity, doing the junior programmer pathway. I did the essentials, but yeah, I find it interesting how they create these games that are just so engaging. It's incredible.
Yeah, a lot of them are in Unity too, so good route
Yeah.
for the
Oh yeah.
good thing to learn.
Oh yeah. No, it's a lot of fun. I mean, I like it because it's kind of applied programming. It's not just sort of overly theoretical. It's really applied, which is good.
Do you have a favorite VR game?
To be honest, my favorite one is probably a game called Dead Second, which is the first-person shooter game that it's just, the gameplay is just fantastic. It's just really engaging. And so, yeah, I'd say that's probably my favorite at the moment, but there's a lot of different ones I like. I recently had some problems with my Quest 2, and I accidentally factory reset it, which was a problem. But,
Oh, no.
Luckily I was able to, Meta was able to get everything back. So. Oh, sure. Yes. Well, what I did was, yeah, I can certainly share now about it. What I did was I was able to find somehow a Calendly link to Meta. So, instead of just leaving a message on the forum, I found a literal Calendly link. And let me see if I actually have it, because it was fascinating. I literally just scheduled a phone call with them, a 30-minute phone call, and they called me. And then what had happened was, when I factory reset it, I tried to, log out of the Meta app and then log back in, and I thought everything would be restored, but it wasn't. So I think I accidentally created a second account, but the people from Meta, reimbursed me for the 3 games that I bought on that second account, and then they basically just what they told me to do to get everything back was just kind of re-log into the initial account, and then they did something on their end, and then everything came back. So yeah, let me just see if I can find that link, because it was really just so helpful. Because I've certainly communicated with them before about things, through different forums, but it's calendly.com/meta-store-support. So it's just calendly.com/meta-store-support is the link. So yeah, you can just schedule like a Calendly appointment with them, which I did 30 minutes. So. Absolutely. Yeah, no, it's very easy, unfortunately, because I was sure that it would just come right back, and when it didn't, it was alarming, because I had a lot of different things on there. But anyway, it was a happy ending at the end.
Like how people fire.
I
Yo, yes, everything. Yeah, everything came back, which was terrific. Yeah, I know. I was so grateful, because I mean, if I needed to rebuy everything, I mean, I would have, but luckily I didn't wind up having to do that, so it was good. But yeah, I definitely recommend contacting them, and I mean, the service was incredible.
Tristia, I have a question. Were you the one, I don't remember if it was you or someone else that was telling me that that thing that's over there with the moving trolley car did someone say that came off of Sketchfab, or was that you that was telling us about that? Oh, okay. Oh, okay. Yeah, because I was looking around in Sketchfab after you said that, and I found things, but they weren't nearly as intricate as that. I found this Viking ship. Actually, I got this directly through the spatial stuff thing, but this Viking ship was there. I thought this was pretty cool. But I
Oh,
really
nice.
liked that thing that you guys imported last. Yeah, you can size it up really big and fly it in the sky. It's
Nice.
really
That's
neat.
cool.
It's really detailed,
Oh,
isn't it?
that
Oh,
looks
that's great.
awesome.
Some
That's totally great.
guy just created that on
I
Sketchfab
feel like Peter
Oh,
and
nice.
Pan.
Nice.
made it available for free. But then if you go into, on our panels here, these things that we have here in Spatial, if you click on the plus icon and you go to Sketchfab, I think you might have to set up an account. But once you're there, you can see a variety of, it's not everything, but it's a lot of stuff like, what's this? Killer Beats something. I mean, you could just get things out of their small selection. And oh, look at this. Here, we can really populate this place with a bunch of cool, here's a thing. I don't know what this is. Killer Beats, it says. So
We
That
anyway,
is
could be
awesome.
hoarders.
yeah. Yeah. They've got their, I think that when you get it from within Spatial, they always add this little, like a thing that's advertising, get it from Sketch. So you've got the little disclaimer paper that comes along with, which isn't quite as attractive.
I wonder if we're able to go inside the Viking ship, because I know
Ooh,
in
I
the
don't
little
know.
model to the right, we were able to like go up the
Yeah,
stairs.
I don't think you can. This thing I've only been able to manipulate it, make it bigger or smaller. I haven't been able to, and turn it and stuff like that, but I can't go in it, I don't think.
Hmm.
What do you call that when it could, I think Tristan said it was an environment. Do you have to like maybe get something that's particularly made to be an environment?
I see.
I mean, Kiana's inside, but not really. She's just walking through the walls. Uh-huh. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah. Where am I? Yep. Yep. Exactly. Yeah, no, I'm a big fan of that asset store, Tristia, because yeah, they have so many things, and it's just amazing. Because all you do is just basically just bring in that package, and everything's kind of subsumed in that package, which is great. So you just bring it into Unity, and then yeah, you can kind of create all sorts of interesting landscapes.
When you guys created this environment, for instance, did you use a preset thing from within Spatial, or did you build it from scratch? Mm-hmm.
That's cool. Nice.
Look at this. Neat.
Yeah, that's cool.
Love this auditorium.
Yeah,
Very
it's, it's really neat. Yeah, yeah, that's cool.
Did we leave the pirate ship behind? Oh, nope, there it
Oh,
is.
it's still here. Everything's
Yeah.
in.
I
It's
see
just sometimes it gets buried in an object.
Oh yeah, there it is.
Yeah, that's cool. No, this is great. Yeah. So has anybody tried that? The other day I tried this, it was this AI image generator. It had a Discord. I can't remember the name of it, but it was really neat. You went to this Discord and then you put like a slash, the word imagine, and then you hit enter, and then
It's Mid-Journey, isn't it?
Mid-Journey. Yeah, it was really neat.
I mean, I haven't tried it, but it looks fabulous. The pictures you can
Oh,
make are incredible.
it was so neat. I mean, I because it took a little while to figure out just a minute or two to figure out, the syntax. I just did a quick kind of Google search and found out. But yeah, it was great. It's great. Nice.
Whoa.
We're in the lodge. This is great. Very cool.
Can you walk outside?
And the red
in this
trees came with
environment?
us too.
Oh,
Nice.
look at this. Oh, look at we can
This
go to
screen
the
is
lounge
blocking
chairs.
my way out.
Yeah. How do we get out
Gotta go
there?
around.
Oh, this
this
is
is
kind of
cool.
nice. You can walk outside in this one.
Yeah. This is really neat. Space. So you basically meet is it the third Wednesday of every month?
It's usually the last Wednesday.
Last Wednesday. Oh, perfect. Okay, great. No, this is fun. Yeah.
I missed the one where you went not time traveling, but you took them all through those different games. That one looked really awesome. I watched it online, but I wasn't here. That was really cool.
Oh, I did like, is that when you showed us like the game where you went into space, Tristia?
Yeah, that's the one. My trouble is figuring
Yeah.
out how to decide where they're gonna go. You
Mm-hmm.
know,
Yeah.
because they can look anywhere in a 360
Yeah.
environment. So, you know, they're not gonna. I mean, I like wandering around and looking at everything, but we want to guide them, right? So
Mm-hmm.
that's my question:
Sure.
is how to guide them.
Oh, I love that question. And I think there's so many different ways, like in terms of UI and effects and just like where we lead by using like different assets or just kind of like placement of assets too. Could be a really interesting discussion and like
Yeah.
comparison if we're like jumping into different apps to check out how they do it.
Yeah. And also, I think it might be interesting to think about just kind of interesting new kind of, VR technologies maybe that support, teaching and learning, kind of maybe it'd be interesting if there's a good one that we could kind of all talk about it and maybe figure out kind of how to get started with it.
Mm-hmm.
Like XR and VR design or
Yeah, I
UI
mean,
design,
yeah, I like
UI design.
maybe, yeah, it could be that kind of stuff. Maybe, maybe sometimes it could just be kind of useful design tools, but other times it could be kind of ones, applied to education or learning and development or different contexts, maybe.
Yeah.
Because I mean, I think, from my perspective, a lot of it is, I mean, there's so many new technologies and so many things are, happening, but I think a lot of it, at least in higher ed where I work, is a lot of it's about just sort of helping people figure out what are the technologies, which
Mm-hmm.
context can they use them, and then how can they get started. So, I'm actually working on a presentation I'm going to do at this Gatherverse this year about that kind of emerging technologies from a pragmatic lens.
Yeah.
And I'm going to look at kind of Unity and AI and Web3, just kind of these different technologies, because again, a lot of the people I work with in higher ed, a lot of the faculty are very hesitant to use these tools, but I think the key is just helping them figure out kind of how they can be helpful and how to get started, and I think would be.
Yeah, I think that's an excellent idea. Because I'd love to like discuss all of the different apps that are in the marketplace right now. And like, if I'm, let's say like I'm a professor at a university and I want my students to start using like virtual reality or, start understanding 3D virtual worlds, do I choose something like spatial or do I choose something like engage and like
Yes,
what are those
exactly.
implications, and like even
Exactly.
like pricing models, because I think that could be a huge barrier. So what might be
Yeah.
a more like entry level versus like a more advanced level?
Well, yeah, and what's fascinating was, this one particular faculty member that I spoke with that had used VR before, and I was thinking that maybe she had used, at least headsets, but really all she used was Google Cardboard and a 360 video, so from her
Oh,
perspective, that was about as bleeding edge as she wanted to go, just because, she didn't want people to get overwhelmed by the technology, I guess.
mm-hmm.
So, but yeah, no, I think that would be interesting because, yeah, it's almost like there's different people and, in my case, faculty members, and I'm sure in all your cases, different, stakeholders, that some people are eager to kind of, push the envelope, but then other people are much, much more hesitant until they find out how it can help them, because so many faculty, when they first think VR is only about games, they have one view, but when they find out that you can do educational aspects in terms of meditation and just courses and all sorts of other things, then I think they get excited about it. So I think
Yeah.
the question is just sort of getting them excited and being practical, about like how can I just get started with kind of baby steps, because, I think if you try to push too hard for them to, do their whole class in VR, then it may be, they may kind of push back.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, there's very little guidance right now sort of around all of that, and how to get started and how to select the right platform for you and your needs as, an instructor.
Exactly.
So I think that would be excellent. And I'd love to hear from folks like in the community, or, folks who we know either in our other networks who are using different platforms, and if they could speak to their experience about how to even get buy-in for that. I assume that is quite challenging, and, I think we could just learn from other people's experiences and maybe the challenges or successes that they had along the way.
Yeah. Oh, absolutely. No. I mean, I think, I think that's the key, because you're right. There really isn't much guidance, and, and so much of it, I mean, for us, for example, you know, if I want to do, a lot of times in my situation, budget is an issue, but, it's possible for me to leverage some of the, maybe the main campus resources, to do different things. But yeah, I think it's always helpful to kind of find low threshold ideas and ways to kind of, not only get, people excited about it, but give them the practical knowledge that they need to get started with the tools, not only the tools itself, but also pedagogically, how to use them for teaching and learning, and really, how to help them promote student engagement, because I think there's so many opportunities to do that, but it's just a question of getting started, really. But no, this is a very interesting group. I need to leave in about 10 minutes, unfortunately, just because my wife and I are going out to dinner, and then we are going to. She just got a new job, so we're going to Kauai in a couple days. So we're getting ready for that.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, so
Exciting.
it'll be good. Yeah, it'll be nice to kind of get away for a couple of days. Yeah, I mean, we've been to Maui, but we haven't been to Kauai. So anyway, but yeah, I can stay another little bit, but yeah, I mean, to me, it's just fascinating. Just how everything that's happening, and all the new headsets and possibilities, and I mean, it really is fascinating.
Yeah, I'm actually really curious about how the landscape of XR is changing, considering all of the different layoffs that we've seen this year.
Exactly.
Like AltSpace VR being sunsetted, the whole MRTK team sort of being let go. Google,
Yeah.
I think, or is it Apple glasses? Those glasses are not coming out anymore.
Yeah, I know. Well, it's crazy, and the whole Microsoft, HoloLens project with the military is basically in a lot of trouble. So yeah, I mean, I think it will be very interesting, because, yeah, I mean, I mean, AltSpace, I was pretty shocked, frankly. I mean, I'd heard a rumor at one point, but to actually see that it's a reality was pretty off-putting, frankly.
I was wondering what would have caused, I mean, besides the fact that, yes, there's a recession coming, but it was almost like everybody suddenly had the realization that the metaverse wasn't going to be either as lucrative or wouldn't come about as quickly as was expected.
Yes.
Like I had read that book by Matthew, I think his name is Matthew Ball, the Into the Metaverse. And he talked about these huge barriers that were in place from a hardware perspective, not headset hardware, but infrastructure hardware, that there are these huge barriers that need to be overcome, and that, yes, it will happen, but we're so far away from it. And then AI cropped up as like the new shiny object, and it seems like most of people, at least in the L&D space, it seems like there's a lot of attention being paid to AI, but less and less attention now being paid to VR, simply because I think the AI stuff is so accessible and is everywhere. I mean,
Yeah.
we've
Exactly.
seen so much stuff about Chat GPT, and I got
Well,
interested
yeah, and
in
I
that
think,
runway stuff, and
well, yeah,
you know,
and
and
I think what's
Midjourney.
Yeah, well, and I think what's fascinating about ChatGPT is just that all the positive things you can do with it, because everybody's talking about how it's such a problem in terms of, cheating, but I just think there's a lot of positive things in terms of
Mm-hmm.
writing, having students create outlines with it and then writing the paper without that tool, for example.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
and yeah, I've just found a lot of interesting use cases, which I think is beneficial, because really, I think for a lot of people, they've really kind of vilified it, and now at this point, it seems like there are some positive applications.
Oh, definitely. I mean, I know I've used it just for, coming up with YouTube titles and stuff like that. And it's just a starting point. But my guess is that eventually when things settle down, it will be kind of the way that we think of Google today, when you just go to your Google, bar and you enter something.
Yes.
Chat GPT will be, or something similar to it, will be kind of the
Yes.
de facto way that you start your projects. So,
Yeah.
yeah. So, I mean, I guess that I've got an interest in AI just from that perspective of like, what are the tools that are of use? I don't know how much of it would cross over into the XR, VR topic that we're all here for. So I don't want to like, throw us into some other area, but it just seems like it's very prevalent. And I'm sure that there will be some crossover.
Oh,
Yeah,
absolutely. No.
I totally. I mean, we're all interested in XR, but there's so much that goes behind like the entire design of XR, right? That we
Mm-hmm.
can absolutely be using AI technology for, whether that's like creating things like outlines, but also things like, like art, 3D art generation,
Yeah,
or
or like, because
like
I know there's a lot of things
character
like text to
generation.
image, or even
Yeah.
eventually text to video creation. And I've been experimenting
Yes.
with that, mostly using an app called Runway ML.
Mhm.
And it's like, it's some parts are great and some are not so great, but it's free. So, it's a good thing to have start
Oh,
with
yeah.
something free. And I'm guessing that someday, soon, hopefully, we'll be able to like type in a text to VR space, and it will like generate a VR place for you to be, and that would be
Yeah.
neat, because it would
That'd
just
be
think of
amazing.
what you're programming in Unity right now. If you could just type in a text description of something and have it populated, how much more efficient that would be. That would be
Oh, yeah.
cool.
Absolutely.
So, we're still a long ways away from that, I'm sure. Neat to
I
think of the
did see that
possibilities.
ChatGPT was able to write Python scripts, which was
I heard
nice
of
to
Yeah.
that.
Oh,
see.
yeah.
Yeah.
I know. That's really
Incredible.
cool. Well, listen, everybody, I need to take off. It was great meeting everybody and seeing everybody, and yeah,
Yeah.
I will come to
Have
the next
fun
one.
in
Absolutely.
Hawaii.
Thanks for joining, John. We'll see you
Oh,
next
absolutely.
month.
Absolutely. No, this was great. Well, take care. Take care, everybody.
Awesome. Bye.
All right. Bye.
Bye.
See ya.
Yeah, I've also been playing around with a lot of different AI, and I just got Lex. It's kind of like ChatGPT, except for it's like a word processor also, and like you don't write like a full prompt. You just kind of like start writing, and it can help you write. Oh, I guess it's like Jasper. You ever used Jasper?
So the one that
But
you're
I
using
found
now is
it
called
really
Lex.
nice to like feel like you're bouncing ideas off of someone else,
Oh, that
I
sounds
think
neat.
it gives a great jumping off point.
Yeah. And that's LEX is the name of the app?
LEX, yeah. And if you
LEX.
search
Okay.
for it, it's helpful to search lex.page, like Page.
Okay.
So I have written down some of the ideas, and I just want to recap them, and so we can add any more that we choose to. But so how to guide users through an XR experience, what some of those strategies might be from a design perspective, new technology for teaching and learning, perhaps a panel on how to get started and how to like more guidance around platform selection and how to like low threshold ideas for getting started or getting your feet wet with XR. I love all those ideas.
Sounds great.
Great.
Can I also
one,
add? Oh, go ahead, Jay.
well, I'll just say the one that stood out to me the most was how to guide the learners through the VR experience. You know, that's can be a challenge sometimes. I mean,
Mm-hmm.
even with traditional 3D stuff, it's a challenge. You have to like think about how all the stuff's gonna be designed in a 3D space. So it's not as simple as 2D for sure. So that's a good one. I like that one. Go ahead. Whoever's next.
Yeah, I also wanted to add, I think it would be really important to form some sort of library of use cases. I've been following Victory XR. They're the ones doing the metaversities
Mm-hmm.
demos. They actually did it with University of Maryland, which is my alma mater. And you know, they're doing some really cool stuff because they basically say, well, we're going to do this lesson about this specific thing. So it's small enough that you can say, okay, we have certain very small achievable learning goals, and they implement the activity based on that. And that's something that you could easily springboard to, you know, the decision makers at your company and say, you know, we want to do just this one thing, experience it. We achieve
Mm-hmm.
those learning goals. Would you like to implement it for something else?
Yeah, I think that's an excellent idea. Yeah, and in that same vein, you know, just a lot more exposure about all different types of learning experiences too. You know, I think there's, as Yana, you mentioned, like, you know, having a like class, like a metaversity in XR, you know, designing something for that might be very different than designing like a guided like lesson where like it's either a learner is like learning something specific that they then need to enact, or if there's like some sort of like coaching, additional like coaching type of experience where like maybe you're in there with someone else. I watched a demo the other day of there is a learner in VR who was being guided by someone outside of VR, and I thought that was really quite interesting. But it was happening in real time. And, you know, I'm assuming there is a decision that was made there, right? That there would need to be support synchronously. A student would need to be supported. But then what if circumstances were different, and how might we design for maybe more asynchronous type learning experiences in VR?
In that example, was the person that was in VR looking at a flat panel video screen, like a Zoom call, or how did that work?
So in the demo, it was being casted in 2D, but the person was using a headset. So I do believe they were technically both in there together, although only one person was using the like manipulating objects.
Mm-hmm.
You know, Kristen, I think, oh, go ahead.
Oh, yeah, that's really interesting. One of the things One of the things I'm wondering, and like this is an ongoing question about how to do something like this, right, is like it's very easy to track one person's behavior in, well, okay, I should not say it's very easy. However, if there is a task in VR that someone needs to accomplish, if there's one person, it's a little bit easier to track whether or not that person has the skills to accomplish the task. But how, and it gets very complex the more people that you have in the space, right? And I think from like an assessment and evaluation perspective, I'm assuming there would have to be a lot of different triggers or like state-based triggers if you were evaluating like multiple people in doing a task and like acknowledging, sort of tracking their behavior. Let's say we track it with XAPI, like, if a person as part of that group, let's say that task got finished, but like each person in that group probably did different things. And so how do you sort of extrapolate and assess someone's competency that was like in that group?
Could you use something that is more simulation based? So even if it's a process or you need to assemble something or you need to understand how something ends up after you do things to it, could you use the actual environment and the elements in it to say, okay, this is my finished product. And just by looking at it, you'll know if it's either right or wrong. So if it's dissection, your frog looks like it was dissected and you have the different parts laid out. And
I'm trying to figure out how to describe it. It's like
Storm
a
5.0.
evaluation set that, like, yeah, like it tracks everything. Like whatever you have a coder set it up for, you can track like your touch like a frog part or whatever. Like you dissect that frog leg, and whatever you decide to set it up for, it could be all customized. And so I was gonna say like that could be like split to 3 different ways though. Like three. If you have multiple users, there would be a XIPI reporting for each one. That was probably the best way to go about it. I'm sure there's ways to do that easily just by like setting up for each like headset experience. Like one headset, where this one headset joins, and then it tracks all the stuff that he does in that one headset. Or if another person joins on another headset, it would be able to track what they're doing in their headset. I think it makes sense from that regard. It's kind of how like since we set up a certain way, like with different sets of the sets of the different reporting instead of just one, overall, if that makes sense. It's like 3 different ways instead of just one evaluation plan.
Yeah.
Hopefully
I'm
that makes sense.
imagining it's something like almost like a group, if you're thinking about a group project or like a group activity in a lab, there might be one person doing the actions, but then there might be the other, like 2 other people like giving directions or like, engaging in like discussion around like whether or not that's correct or not. And maybe this is a good use of AI or like, text analysis. I don't know if we're there yet, but, maybe in that data package where it's, user one has a lot of different actions, or there's like those actions are spread across 3 users, like the text or like the speech to text rather is getting analyzed by some AI that could be categorized in such a way that is like instruction, direction, agreement, collaboration type thing. And I think maybe taken all together could give an interesting and more comprehensive view of like learners' competency for that activity, more than just the metrics of whether something did or did not occur.
That's an interesting idea. Can you,
Yeah.
those of you who are familiar with Unity, when you publish something in Unity, can you publish like for XAPI output? Is there something, is that like the equivalent of SCORM output, only it's XAPI?
I've done it before, yeah. There's
You
a scorm
can,
wrapper.
yeah.
There's a scorm wrapper I shared one time. What was that? I think it was during the XIPI meetup we had like last year at some point. Like Tristy actually set it up. I don't have the link on me right now, but it's in the XR the Slack channel, or well, it used to be. I don't know if
I
it
would
still is. 'Cause
imagine that for a VR simulation, SCORM probably isn't the most appropriate thing to use anymore. So is XAPI what people are using nowadays when they create a VR experience for a completion status or passing?
I would,
Mm-hmm.
yeah, like I do 3D. I'm an instructional designer, but but I have a little bit of Unity experience. Like so, like I'm a bit half and half, I guess. Like I'm an instructional designer, but uh, like for example, I know that I didn't always know this, but I know that now that like company I'm with uses XAPI for tracking. So they use Unity. So
Okay.
yeah, I guess that's kind of standard now. Maybe it won't be forever, but like I think it's probably the most used one for like 3D general right now. Probably VR. I'm sure VR as well. Some companies, it seems like some companies have their own like system set up too. I'm not sure if they're all using XAPI, for example, but I would say like that's probably like general for most 3D and VR experiences right now, though. Like Gorma is like dead for sure. Like it's just so old. It doesn't track anything besides like completion and whatever. So
Yeah, yeah.
it's just
And
so
I know
like
there has been
strict.
frustration in the learning and development, industry basically. There's been some frustration that XAPI wasn't being broadly adopted. But now if there's a new vehicle like VR experiences, there's a reason to use XAPI. Like you actually want to know, kind of like a game, what inventory people have or what small motions they do during the experience. Um, that kind of gives a little bit more reason to use XAPI. So maybe this is the time when XAPI will take off. I don't know much about it. I just know that like no one has ever asked me to publish something for XAPI in their LMS yet. I'm waiting for that day, but so far it's just SCORM. Yeah. Mhm. Yeah.
Oh yeah, that does definitely comes down.
And it's not,
Definitely comes down to use
XAPI is not
cases.
user friendly. Oh,
It's not user friendly, you think?
I mean, it's not because it's some sort of coding, I guess. What I would love to see
Uh-huh.
is with AI, for a VR experience, basically you record the perfect, the ideal, but what you want to
Mm.
achieve, and then you just tell the AI, watch all the recordings of all of the students and put out a score, put out things that they can work on, suggestions.
Like how
That's an
closely
excellent idea.
did they achieve the standard? Is that what you mean?
Yeah, they achieve, just like ChatGPT, because you can tell it, like act like this, write me this,
Mm-hmm.
give me suggestions, and you could tell it, observe this recording. This is the ideal. Now
Oh,
observe
that's a
everybody else's recordings and give me a grade for it. Give me recommendations to give the students and
be
things like
interesting
that.
to try that in current chat GPT and see what it does.
That would be. I attended a conference online last year. It was the Immersive Learning Research Conference, and one of the presenters was the way in which he evaluated learning in VR was through what he called choreographies, and it essentially did exactly what you mentioned, Tiana, which was got experts to demonstrate like the task at hand, and then ended up recording all users and what like how they evaluated whether like competency or not was the discrepancy between where learners were and what the expert performance was, and I thought that was really interesting. I'll take a look to see like in like my repository if I can find that study, but I'll definitely pass it on to you all in Slack. And that beats having like an expert observer, you know, having to be in the space with you or watch you in 2D from afar and like code, code your behavior.
I mean, I do think that there's still a use case for having an actual person, like for K to 12 and even college, where you have somebody leading the class and they want to be the ones manipulating how the learners are learning. But for corporate, yeah, something that you can train into the ideal and then just look at how your employees are performing and just spew out basically a lesson plan for them.
Yeah,
That'd be amazing.
an excellent idea. One of the ideas that we were thinking about was having more guest speakers or maybe like panel speakers. Is that something that could be helpful or that you guys would be interested in?
Yeah,
I'd
that'd
love
be
to
great.
see that because I know you had that at the beginning, like Myra came in here and other folks. That would
Yeah.
be really helpful just to kind of hear what's going on in the industry maybe, people
Okay.
who are actually applying what we're learning. I think that would be great.
Cool. Yeah, we can definitely integrate more of those this year.
Awesome.
Mm-hmm.
Like the talk last year, send that design document. So just saying, that was a nice one.
I really
And
liked
that's
the
useful.
one where I can't remember. There was a guy that was showing us how he did I think it was an onboarding program. He had done it in Storyline 360. So he was just showing us how he created the onboarding for his company. And that was really useful to me because as an articulate user, that was a lot closer. Like I could envision myself someday doing something like that because it doesn't require VR, headsets and stuff. So that kind of a thing, it's not exactly VR, but it's still a 360 environment. And clearly there's some interest in that since, Articulate has made it possible to do, 360 photos. The other app that or the software platform that I'm not familiar with very much, but I've experimented, like looked at it, was Scenario VR. And it seems like it's kind of the next step up from, because that's eLearning Brothers has acquired Scenario VR. And it seems like they're trying to kind of bridge that gap between traditional instructional design tools and full-on Unity coding. It's like, how to create a VR environment for a non-Unity coder. And that I thought was really interesting. It's robust. Mm-hmm. Oh, okay, so that's the difference. It's not like this where we're in this real present environment. It's 3DOF. Oh, okay. All right. That explains a lot. Because I was like, it seems like this is a good solution, but that's good to know. Hmm. Hmm.
Maybe we can get John Blackman to talk about scenario VR and different cases.
That would be awesome. Hmm. Hmm.
Yeah. Oh my gosh, how fun would that be if we did it all live, like a fishbowl?
Oh, I'd love that.
Well, I've got to
I was
jump,
gonna.
but next month we do have a guest speaker. Destry Hildenbrand will be speaking,
Oh,
so that'll
awesome.
be really exciting. He just published an ATD at work guide that was was it around virtual reality? I actually don't remember. I think it was virtual reality or augmented reality.
Hmm.
Anyone who saw that? Cool.
Are you
That was
talking about the webinar? I know I attended a webinar that Desiree did recently through Training Magazine Network on augmented reality, mixed reality. Is that what you're talking about?
Oh, probably something similar. So he'll be here to kind of share about the guide that was published by TD at work, or like by ATD, I guess, but it was like a TD at work issue. So we invited him to kind of speak about what he wrote about in that guide that he created. I think it was published a little bit earlier this month. If you're a TD, or sorry, if you're an ATD member, I think you should get those for free online if you didn't get it sent to you by mail. But I think if it's something you're interested in purchasing, if you're not an ATD member, I think it's about $15. Tricia, please correct me if I'm wrong. Oh, there's
Inflation
inflation.
hits everywhere. Yeah, Destry's great. I'd love to hear from him.
Yeah.
That'd be great.
Based on his webinar, yeah, that was the most memorable webinar.
For VR and just different XR experiences, like kind of how projects start out, with prototypes. So people have different approaches, like for sure. So I always like maybe that could be another idea for a future meetup. Like just maybe having some people share thoughts on that if there's anyone out there that does. So yeah, I mean, could be another. I don't know if that really is everyone's interest, but it's one of mine at least. Like just to see how different people approach prototyping. Like from you start with a design first, but then you move into your prototyping phases and so forth. When you're creating experiences. So just throwing it out there.
Yeah.
Could be another idea.
Writing that down.
Like some people use Unity for prototypes. Some people use like, there's different programs out there to do these. And so it could be a variety of things actually.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Yeah, just different ideas like that. Be one idea for a meetup,
Mm-hmm.
or just anyone can share, I guess, at some point. Just in general.
Thanks so much.
Thank you.
Good seeing her.
Bye, everyone.
Well,
Bye.
Mhm.
Nice
Bye.
to see y'all again.